Yeah, no, I think so. I'm sorry, I'm starting the recording, but I think so. And what you guys really did phenomenal. What is really difficult is, to take a lot of information and take the important parts out and explaining it to the fellow students or people in a way that it makes sense. And it's not just like some big old words that sound great, but nobody knows what you're talking about,
Yeah.
And so that's why I've been very, very impressed how the videos I've seen. And I'm saying this across the board because, for some of you, it's really hard. English is not the first language. For me, English is a third language. It took me a lot of years to feel comfortable just speaking in public and doing these kind of things. And then public speaking alone is challenging for people, which might be nice that we're only speaking into the computer right now. But, so I'm really, really grateful you guys go with the flow and do it and jump over, if it's anxiety provoking, jump over yourself a little bit and just know at the end, it's okay. I'm behind you. You guys do great work. Having said that, are there any questions about it? Because not everybody was able to upload it yet. If there's any questions still around the pathology project, then speak them up now or later, but this is a good time. Because as we finish up the pathology, what we're going to do, let me see if I can share my screen here. What we're going to do is, I just finished this here. We're on week 15 now, I think. Is that correct? I think so, yeah. Oh, and I didn't give this some dates, so I have to make sure that what we want to do here now is we want to finish up with the pathology project to upload it in the discussion forum. I want you to sell your video, sell why should somebody watch your video and get more information about the pathology. So you actually have one more added thing, a little marketing, a little learn about marketing. And then I want you to upload the presentation as well itself, of course, and then I want you to view a couple, 3 presentations that you speak to you that you think might be interesting, and I want you to learn from your classmates about something you probably didn't know before. Like I've learned a lot about things maybe I know about a pathology already, but not everything. And so every video that I have watched from you guys, I have learned something that I did not know before, and I'm really grateful for that. And so I want you guys to do the same and just take some time. This is a 20-point thing. This is not a discussion forum. This goes into the pathology project rubric of the grading. But take some time and, understand what somebody's trying to present, or a group. It's usually a group. And then, reflect a little what you like about the presentation. Was it style, present, because then you can learn from other people's work and sort of reflect on your own, how you do it a little bit. And so I think that's also a good exercise after we've done such a project. And then I do want you to give one tip of how they could make the presentation better. And criticism is very difficult to do and not be too critical, and the people actually can hear it. And so it's always good to be gentle about it, but it's very, very important that we do it, because not doing it doesn't help nobody either. And so when I review online classes, which I'm starting to do for other professors, and hold on, I don't want to talk to anybody right now. Then they present, when you give criticism, they say you put it in a sandwich. Do they say sandwich? I'm not totally sure now. But what you do is you say what's great about something, right? That's number 2. What did you like? And when you say what you like, you say you did a great job, in this thing. And then when a criticism comes, you say the video or the presentation, you take it away from the person and make it less personal, because it's not a critique on a person, it's a critique on a product. And so I want you to, work with that a little bit, because we are in a forum, I think, where we can trust each other at this point. And I trust you that you can do this in a gentle way that is helpful. And then in the next class, somebody will, do even a better presentation. I mean, that's another reason why I'm doing it, even if some of you have hesitations of doing it, but in college, we just got to do some of that stuff. And I think being able to articulate and explain something that we want other people to learn and to know is a very, very good skill to have. Anyway, here we go then, though. The directions, again, same thing again, just spelled out a little bit different. Try to upload your stuff by Friday. This should be a 2-week event. Yes, this is a 2-week event. So you don't have to be too rushed. But if you can upload your stuff by Friday and then start reflecting back and forth a little bit and do that work and help your students out. All right. Is that pretty clear?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Will like everyone in the group supposed to turn it into the discussion or just one person?
No, the discussion is an individual thing. Thank you.
Okay.
The presentation is a group product. So not everybody was able to do it in a group because it's sometimes hard to communicate and things happen and blah, but most of the presentations are in a group. Some are individual people, but I want this discussion, I want this to be as an individual thing. So
okay, so we're all uploading basically whoever's in a group, we're all uploading the same video?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to do it that way. Otherwise it technically doesn't work. So yeah, you will have to upload, each individual person will have to upload the video. And I also want each individual person to explain and sell your video. Say, why should I watch your video? What is good about your stuff? Why should I do that? Give me some reason why I should spend the time to take my time to watch your video. And most likely it's because, the pathology is very important and a lot of people are affected by it. And I think it's great. We need to learn about it. Some things like that along those lines. Of course, I would say, I'm a great presenter. So no, never mind. Make it about the product. Any other questions on that?
I have a question. I got here at about 10:05, so I could be a little behind, but I'm looking at the assignment, and so you want us to watch the other videos that the other people posted, and where will we find those videos? Are you gonna put?
So this is this discussion forum, right? So
Okay.
you will first upload yours into the discussion.
Okay, upload my video, into the discussion.
Right?
And then,
so you do a little blurb like, hey, I'm doing this on HIV, this is blah, blah, this is important, etc. Sell yourself a little, sell the video a little bit in a paragraph, nothing fancy, just so make it juicy that the other students might want to flock to your video and watch it. And then you upload your video, and then you go and review a few other uploads and give feedback to 2 videos.
Got you. Okay, and then one last question real quick. I'm looking at the assignment. I'm on the page itself. I don't see a discussion where you can, start the discussion or even start the assignment. You know how there's a button?
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Did I make a mistake on this? Hold on, because I've been rushing to review this one. Oh, it should be. Oh, no submissions. What's wrong with me?
Yeah, I was just wanting to make sure.
Yeah, no, that's me. I gotta change this. Jesus Christ, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, but thanks for clearing that up, though, because I know I got in a little late, but I wanted to.
No, you're cool.
I was confused.
No, you're cool, man. You're cool. Yeah, we're all in this together. At the end of the day, I need your feedback.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna have to. If it doesn't solve itself or I'm not able to solve it, please be in my face over it, whoever can't reach it, and I'll make sure. I'm not sure why that didn't take yet, but I'll look at it from the student's view as well after we're done talking here.
All right, cool. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you much on your end. Anybody else on this topic here? Well, if not, then how about...
I think our video were long. We did it like a couple times.
Oh, you did good. You did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I know some
wasn't
of them
sure
might
because we
a
have
little
to
bit.
do it again.
Some of them end up being a little bit longer, but, you know, at the end of the day, now that we've done it, I tell you, most important is that it is not, you know, boring long, that it is interesting.
Oh,
If it be long, you know, that's why we want to make it short, because we want to get all the excess fluffy out. That's part of the difficulty of teaching is, you know, to be not just getting into this boring and everybody falls asleep thing. You know, that's why I'm making it. That's why partly why I'm putting these timelines on. But if it's longer a little bit now, don't worry about it. Yours is very good. I saw it. It's one of them I listened this morning. Good. Any other questions on that? If not, let's go and back into a little bit of the tests that's going to come up at the end here. We're going to have, look at that, May 27 is the deadline. So by May 27, everything needs to be turned in. But I want to make sure, and I reiterate that every time, as you work your way through the material, please be aware and make sure you're referencing and reviewing the test review of what is from the chapter on the test. Print this piece of paper out. This is what you can use as a guide for the test. It is very important because we're going through a lot of material and we can get frazzled a little bit when it takes a test. So this spells everything out that you need to know. So keep that in mind. I know I'm repeating myself over and over, but I just want to make sure by the end of this, before we take the test, everybody knows that. And then, of course, then a second part here is the anatomy term list. And I printed that out here. And that is another thing that you want to have printed out for the test, because those are all the terms of the models that I'm going to, you know, show you in pictures, like the test 2 wasn't, that you are responsible for. This is just a whole list of all the stuff that's in the individual chapters. So it's not more than that. If you've done the labeling and colorings, you're in good shape. But what I want to do now is I do want to, and I do start doing that a couple of times, I do want to go through some of the terms and give you a little bit of a quizzy thing, go through some of the, a little bit of a what is it called? A test. So what I want to do now is I want you to take out a sheet of paper and, you know, just for fun, we'll go through about 10 terms and you can sort of gauge yourself a little bit where you at with things. And then that directs your studies a little bit for the final, because basically after the project now, what we're doing is going towards the final and finishing up the class. Unfortunately, it's been very nice to teach you guys. So if you have a sheet of paper, and if you can have your term list, only use terms from the term list. I want you to tell me as a first question, what is this great vessel called here that goes around, this great vessel? And write it down, don't say it. Write it down, and then we go through it afterwards. So number 1 is this great vessel here. I don't even remember it. The number 2, I want you to tell me, what is this chamber called? We have one here and we have one here. It's the same term. What is this bigger chamber in the heart called? That's number 2. And then number 3, as you look here, you see this chamber here, this first chamber, and then there is a hole there, and the blood goes into the bigger chamber here. And you got this flappy thing, this valve. What is this valve called? We have one on this side and we have one on this side. They both have the same name on the list. They also have individual names, but on the list, I want to combine them. And the name is after what chamber is this to what chamber is that. So that's the name. That's number 3, right? Yeah. And then number 4, if I go too fast, you slow me down. Number 4, I would like to understand what are these blue specks called? These blue little things called here. That's number 4. Of course, it's the longest name. Why do I do that? Number 4 here. And then number 5, I like you to tell me this one, where it has dots on it, and the dot and the background is the same color. Not the one with red, not the one with blue, but the one where the dot is the same color as the background. What is this one called? That's number 5. Good. And then we get to the brain. Huh. I like the brain, but the brain is a bit complicated. So the first thing we have, let's go with this one. We have these lobes here. Actually, this is better. Sorry. We have these lobes. You see, this is orangey, reddy. This is bluey. So that tells you this is the front. This is the back. I want you to tell me the lobe that's in the front. What's that lobe in the front called? That's number 5. Number 5.
Number 5 or number 6?
Oh, number 6. Sorry. Number 6. Just making sure you're awake. And number 7, I want you to tell me the brain in the back, the little hindbrain. We also call it the cauliflower brain. That's number 7. All right, number 7. What should we do? What should we do? Number 8. There is this egg-shaped thing here in the center of the brain, one on each side. And it's a place where all the sensory, most of the sensory input comes in and then gets distributed and relayed to the different parts of the brain. What is that structure called? That's number 8. Number 8. And number 9, bye-bye brain, bye-bye. Okay, let's see here. Number 9, I would like you to tell me, when I look at this brown structure, which they call a gray, right? This here, what is this called? This part of the butterfly sort of look, the one in the back. This is posterior here where the vertebra is. It's the one in the back here. What is that? What do we call that? What do we call that? That's number 9, huh? That was kind of a nasty question. The other thing on the spinal cord that I want you to know is this bulge. See, there's nerves here, there's nerves here. And the ones that go into the back have this big bulge here. There are actually cell bodies in here. What do we call that? That's number 10. We'll do a few more and then we'll be good. That's number 10. Number 11. Nah. Oh, here. Number 11. Can you tell me? Oh, hold on. Yeah, can you tell me what the snail structure here is called? This is actually the place where we do transform sound waves into nerve impulses. That's number 11. And then number 12, we got an eyeball. And on the eyeball, we got this big old gland up here. Then we know that's the outside because that's the lacrimal gland. That's the tear gland. So the tears go from the outside across the eye and then they drain into the nose. That's why we need, sniffle paper. So that's the outside. So we know that. What I want you to tell me is, what is this muscle called here that goes front to back and is on the opposite side on the outside, on the inside by the nose? That would be number 12. I know, a little overwhelming. And then number 13, we did the respiratory system, right? We just did that. The lungs, what do we have with the lungs here? We don't have that much lung stuff, but what I would like for you to tell me is, when I look at the lungs here, see, we have these cuts in here, and then we have one here. And on this side, we just have one here. See that? The left lung has 2 and the right lung has 3 lobes. What is this called here? This flatlining what cut between the upper and the middle lobe. What's that called? So that's number 13. And then number 14 to finish up. What's this tube called that goes from the pharynx to the stomach? That's number 14. And then that's good. All right. So far, so good. You got some of those or all of those? Let's see. So now I want you to shout it out. And everybody, because speaking helps us remember it better. What is number 1 called? Anyone?
Aortic arch.
Aorta.
Aortic arch, aorta, perfect. And you know, this is actually, I can tell you this now because you've been such good students. On the final, you don't have to write out the word. It's multiple choice.
Oh, cool.
See? I get
Oh,
it. Number 2. What's number 2?
Tricuspid valve.
Ventricle. Yeah, ventricle. That's right, ventricle. Number 2 is a ventricle. Then number 3 is this valve. What was this valve called?
AV valves.
AV valve. Atrioventricular. That's the atrium. That's the ventricle. Same thing here. Atrium, ventricle. So that's why they call this valve AV valve. The other valves we have are up here and then hidden behind. We can't see it. And those are the semi-lunar valves, because when you look at them from above down, they look a little bit like a half moon shaped crescent. So perfect. And then number 4, we go to the blue dots.
The thrombocyte platelet.
Yeah, thrombocytes.
Thrombocyte. Sorry.
No, it's perfect because that's a hard word. That's why it's platelets is the common word that most people will use. Platelets. And then number 5 was this one where the dots are the same as the background.
Neutrophil.
Neutrophil.
Very good. Neutrophil. Yeah, speak it out. Even if it's just repeating it, if you're not the first one. Now we get into the brain. What's this called here?
Frontal lobe.
Frontal lobe.
Frontal lobe. The frontal lobe's in the front. I mean, you can't make it easier than that, right? Thank God some of it is not too complex. And then the hindbrain.
Cerebellum.
Cerebellum.
Yeah, this is incredible. This brain has more neurons than the big brain has. It is very complicated. It's interesting. We always think it's just the balancing brain, but it's the planning brain. So we're actually planning there too. So it's kind of goofy to think what's going on in our head. And when I'm thinking about something, I'm like, oh, that might be where that is. Anyway, next is this.
Thalamus.
Thalamus. Very good. The thalamus is the major relay station in the brain. Do not confuse the thalamus, which is here, with the basal ganglia, which is the bigger egg-shaped thing too. All right. This is different. The thalamus has to do with all the information coming in as a relay station and then sends it to different parts of the brain. And the basal ganglia has to do with planned motions. Like when you walk, the fact that you can walk, it's a rhythmic motion. It's all the planning is in here. So you don't have to think about it. It's the same thing with that. That's why we say practice makes permanent, because anything we practice, we get these stored motion patterns that are in here. So it's really cool stuff, actually. Anyway, that's the difference between those two. And then this is the ventricular model. This is the lateral ventricle, and then the third cerebral aqueduct, and then the fourth ventricle. I didn't have any questions on that. Then the next question is this here. What's this called? This part?
Dorsal horn.
Dorsal horn.
Very good. Dorsal horn and or also posterior horn. Dorsal and posterior are interchangeable, and neurology often still uses dorsal. Other body systems, they switch pretty much all to posterior on that. And then, this big bulge. What's this big bulge called?
Dorsal root
Oh.
ganglion.
Root ganglion, exactly. And that's interesting because nobody would say posterior root ganglion for some reason. It just doesn't rhyme proper or something. So, you know, anatomy is not that perfect science. We're just trying to describe things. Then I'm going to this part here. What's this called?
Cochlea.
Yeah.
The
Cochlea.
cochlea. That's where we hear. That's pretty cool, isn't it? And then the next one is
Medial rectus muscle.
medial rectus muscle. Perfect. We have 4 recti: superior, lateral, kind of not seeing really inferior, and then medial. And then we got the 2 oblique, super oblique and inferior oblique. You can't see the inferior. Oh, inferior is right here on the
Was
side.
the medial on the
Oh,
inside, closer to the nose?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought medial was on the, it would be on our left side. I thought medial was on the left side.
Oh,
Yeah, I could be wrong. I don't know.
no, an easy way to reference is the lacrimal gland.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's on the outside always. And so that's how I orient myself. You can also orient yourself with the super oblique, but that's kind of weird, a little bit more difficult. And so then where that stump is, that's the medial side.
Okay.
And then the
Alright.
lateral will be where the lacrimal gland is. Good. I know that one you can get wrong on a multiple choice too. Make sure you get that straight in the head. I know. Muscles. Unfortunately, I love those muscles, so I'm torturing you with muscles. Here, what's this called?
Horizontal fissure.
Horizontal fissure. We have the oblique fissures on both sides, and on the right side, we also have a horizontal fissure. Good. And the last thing was the
Trachea.
Esophagus.
esophagus.
Oh,
Yeah,
Esophagus.
esophagus. Trachea ends up being here. No, below. Sorry, here. We have here. This is the trachea here. This
Yeah.
one with the rings. Yeah. So we have the larynx here, and up to the larynx, we have the pharynx, which shares the food and the air together. And then we split at the larynx. We split into the trachea that has these rings to keep the tube open because air cannot push it open. And in the back is where the esophagus goes through. So you can see the esophagus coming out of here. That's where you can see it goes through the back of it. And these rings are open in the back. That's why they call them horseshoe shaped. So the esophagus can push into the food, into the air tube when we swallow something. So that's pretty good. Well, yeah, it would be kind of hard if it were the other way around. Good. That's not bad at all. How did you guys do?
Pretty good.
Pretty good? Excellent.
Good.
Excellent. Then all we got to do is finish up today with, I mean, unless you have questions, just speak into me if you have questions. But we get urinary nutrition this week, right? I think.
Professor, can you go back to that diagram of the digestive system?
This,
The little picture you had up there?
this one?
The one below. Yeah, right there.
Uh-huh.
If you were to point out again, because like on the coloring section of the small intestine, we were supposed to specify that the duodenum and the jejunum and the ileum?
It's hard. Nah, that one is hard.
Okay.
It's a little slightly color different. But
Yeah,
that's about it. I wouldn't worry about that too. When you just say, you know, ileum, jejunum, the duodenum is a little easier to see. That's just the beginning, right?
mhm.
So that one you can specify fairly okay, I think. I don't know the picture. Is the picture clear on that, the duodenum?
Yeah, it was so tiny.
Yeah. It is not that big. It's just the part that goes around the pancreas. If you take the large intestine out, you would see the pancreas here, right? And it goes around the pancreas.
Mhm.
And so that's that part. But then, you know, the small intestine is really the duodenum, the ileum, and the jejunum. But don't worry about separating those.
Okay,
Cool. Thanks for asking that.
thank you.
Those are the things that, you know, escape my mind when I'm writing these things up. Well, I do want to have a chapter on nutrition, just an overview after we do the digestive system, because, you know, I think the fundamentals of nutrition are not that complicated, but we well, many of us are not initially taught or learn, and for the other ones of us, it's always a good refresher. So I got a little bit of, food to energy, that we need ATP, what that means, what that molecule looks like. And then we go right into the metabolism, which means all the processes that give us the ATP that we are looking at here in nutrition. And so we talk a little bit about that. And then we go straight into the different nutrients, the macronutrients. It's not a big chapter really, but I just want to give you some ideas about the macronutrients. Of course, sugar spike, that's an important topic that we talk about when we talk nutrition in our society, particularly where so much is sugar and carb-based food, which is problematic. As I can tell with all the presentations, pretty much everything goes through the nutrition, the activity levels, and then the next stuff is the stress reduction kind of thing, if you look at what we can do for pathology. And then briefly, we talk about the micronutrients. I think that's kind of interesting. The small stuff that helps our enzymes to be functional. And I listed a bunch of them up, which is probably a decent list, maybe to print out or so. It's hard for me to remember those details, so I have to always look them up. But that's also why I made a pretty long list for you guys to reference in case you're interested in that. There's not much on the, this is small, huh? There's not much on the test in terms of, you don't have to remember all these little things. And then a little blurb about why, and this is from the anatomy book, so I could say why active plant substances are more important than just taking synthetic vitamins, for example. Like a tomato has over 10,000 different substances that we don't even understand or study. So the synthetic sort of, I guess this is an argument for me to say, like, be careful if you're taking synthetic vitamins that, or if you're taking food-based vitamins. So if you look at the ingredient list and it just is all the words nobody understands, then it's probably something to be thought about a little bit, versus it says Brussels sprouts, broccoli powder, and all that kind of stuff. Then that might be guiding it a little bit into the direction that we're just, using the tomatoes themselves that have many more helpful things in them than just the chemical that we extracted. So that's a little bit on that discussion, which I think is generally speaking an interesting way of looking at the vitamin world. And then briefly about the fiber, and by now I'm sure you know how I think fiber is very important. Gotta be able to poop, otherwise it's gonna be stuffy in the head. And then the second chapter we're looking up here is the urinary system. Those are our kidneys. What do? We make, get rid of excess water in our system, metabolize our blood and get rid of substances that we don't want. Also, the kidneys have a lot to do with blood pressure control, electrolyte concentration, understanding and control. So there's a lot going on in there. The erythropoietin, for example, is what tells the red blood cell, the bone marrow to make red blood cells. That happens in the kidneys, for example. We talk about the structure, where it's at, smaller structure, microscopic, then how it functions, how the blood goes, the blood comes from the body, goes through one of these cups, all the liquids basically flows into these tubes, and then in the first part of these tubes, most of the liquid goes back into the bloodstream. So it's this exchange of a filtering process. And then some substances at the end will be brought back into what this is called the tubules from the blood actively, like metabolites or medications and things like that we want to get rid of. So it's a decent filtering system that way. So we'll talk a little bit about that part of the microstructure and how it works. And then how does the blood get filtered? This is kind of cool. These are cells that make filtration slits. Those are in that first part where the blood comes into this capsule thing. I call that the Bowman's capsule. So we'll learn a little bit about that. And then what I just sort of talked about, how first we get the blood flows into the tubules and call that a filtrate then, and then how the filtrate goes back into the blood. It's described in here with this. This is a very complicated process, as this tube goes down deep into the kidney and comes back up, because the deeper into the kidney you go, the more salty it becomes, and then this salt pulls water around. So this is where ionic water pulls, water follow salt, kind of that discussion. That's an osmotic discussion. It's a very interesting how that happens in the kidney, and it's quite complicated. So we're touching on it a little bit. And then if you want to take those studies further, you have a starting point to do that. And then the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone mechanism is basically a way to raise blood pressure up. And so the kidney measures the blood pressure, and then if need be, in that what's called a juxtaglomerular apparatus. Juxta means next to, glomerular is referred to this capsule here. That's they call it the Bowman's capsule, and the glomerulus technically is this bunch of capillaries inside, but in the old world, this whole thing is called the glomerulus. And so this here, these red green cells, is the area where we have that juxta next to, juxta means next to, glomerular apparatus, and that measures blood pressure as blood pressure flows in, as blood flows in. And then it can secrete a cascade it secretes the renin, and then goes into angiotensin, which tenses the blood vessels a little bit, makes them a little tighter. That gets activated in the lungs, and then that stimulates an aldosterone, which then keeps water into the system to raise the blood pressure that way. So it's a very interesting sort of look at how these hormones sort of work together. It's just one example. A little bit about aquaporins. That's also fun, because we have you ever heard of antidiuretic hormone? We talked about it in the pituitary gland. And so the body gets rid of water and has to regulate that. And one regulatory mechanism is that aldosterone. And the aldosterone fundamentally ultimately works with the fact that it regulates sodium, and water follows sodium, water follows salt. We also, though, have a direct mechanism with the antidiuretic hormone. Anti means against, diuretic means P, and hormone, means a molecule that influences something. And so this is the anti-P hormone. And so if that gets secreted, then we have less water loss from the kidney tubule back into the blood. And so we have more water being retained in the system and not peed out, and therefore the blood volume is raised, and therefore the blood pressure goes up. This is interesting. You notice this when you drink a lot of coffee, because you got to pee all the time, or alcohol, because then the antidiuretic hormone doesn't work. And so that's where you can feel how that mechanism works, when it works, when you don't have this coffee in the system or the alcohol. But when you do it, then you go pee all the time, you understand what it actually does, because it's not present at that time. And so that's kind of cool, I think. Blah, 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 lots of chattery. And then we finish up with, from the kidneys, we got to go to the bladder, and from the bladder, we got to go to the universe and pee it out. And so we have a brief discussion on that. Good. All right, that's it for this puppy here. And we will have a labeling with it, not the nutrition, just the urinary system. We got this pathology that we talked about already, the discussion. And then let me see, did I complete the food journal discussion? Yes, we also have that. I just have to give it a date, and that will be next week. That's a normal week part. Just wanted to briefly finish up talking about how the nutrition journaling was helpful or not helpful. Just give it a little thought on that. All right, and then that's it from that perspective. Now get us closer and closer. Any questions? Any comments? If not, we can finish up. And you can be proud of yourself. You've done a lot of work. We're slowly finishing up. And so I hope this was good. I hope today helped. Also, the fact that the final lab portion is multiple choice. I hope that makes you relax a little bit more.
Very helpful, Professor. Thank you.
Good, you're welcome. I know tests are a little anxiety, so we'll try to take as much of the anxiety down as we can. I think you guys are going to do fantastic. All right, with that, do you have any questions, any comments? No?
No.
Good. Then I wish you a wonderful week. Stay in touch and reach out if you have anything coming.
I have a question, Professor.
Yes.
The pathology project discussion, we have just to enter the because like you didn't fix it, I think.
No, not yet. I have to do it. I have to do
okay.
it. I couldn't do it when I'm talking. I have a hard time multitasking, so I have to go look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Give me a half hour. Give me a half hour, and if it's still not fixed, then if you guys could get back to me, that would be great. Because I'm not
Okay.
sure what's wrong with it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful week.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.